All right, let's go up to Port Lavaca. Mike Seidel, thank you, Dr. Knapp. Always appreciate your insight. Mike is dealing again with the eastern wind and the storm surge and the rain dance. He's got it all going on. He's not in the eye wall, nor am I, but it's bad enough outside the eye wall, isn't it, Mike Seidel?
Yeah, it is indeed. Now, we've come on the other side of the hotel for safety purposes and to protect our camera, because without a camera, you can't see me. It's still very, very windy, but we're out of the strongest of the winds, but I don't know if you can see in the distance, it is still whipping up here really good. And look at the surge and the water rise across the entire parking lot. Now, this is about 18 inches, not quite 2 feet deep. It continues to come in. Straight back there is Lavaca Bay. In fact, why don't we take a walk down there? I think we can do that because we got plenty of light. We just have to watch out. We did notice that some of the guttering came down when we were walking through the water. In fact, I found it. This is what you have to worry about. This came off the building. This is the only thing I've seen that has come down, but this stuff, this could do some damage to you if it goes flying. We'll put it right back down in the water and let it go. We'll walk through here again. This is the hotel that's up about 16, 17 feet to the first floor. We'll just look ahead. We're going to walk down here, and we'll be looking right out into Lavaca Bay. That's where all the water's coming from. So the entire hotel is surrounded on the lower level, but there's nothing on the lower level except some, like this, some storage rooms here. Concrete and steel. This is hardy plank. What is that? Fiberglass and concrete. Good stuff to have on your home if you don't go brick. And then we come up here through the access. As I mentioned before, the power went off for a few seconds, maybe half a minute, and then it came back on. What they've done is they did turn off the elevator earlier today for safety reasons, so that's the way into the elevator. But this out here, my friends, is where all the water's coming from, the surge. This is Lavaca Bay in the distance. And now we're under our balcony upstairs where the kitchen is and the breakfast and dining areas. But this water's come up about 2 feet since dinner time, and the waves crashing in here. But again, our fetch here isn't that long. It's only a few miles to the other side of Port Comfort. We're not getting a long fetch like they're getting on those barrier islands and those beaches, but the wind is still whipping through here, and we've got a long way to go because of the water staying up all night into tomorrow, maybe into Sunday, and the battering waves on the beaches, not so much here. Let's walk back through here, give you an idea what's going on again. So remember, the big difference with Harvey versus any other hurricane we've seen, maybe in memory, is it could make 2 landfalls in Texas. It's also got no steering flow. It's going to slow down tonight and throw on its brakes. So for the next several days at least, it's going to meander in Texas, maybe near the coast, maybe a little bit inland. That will impact the rainfall totals on the far northwest quadrant. Still very confident right now, Dallas-Fort Worth, you'll miss certainly the direct impacts by far of Harvey. But with the unrelenting rainfall, you won't need surge to have your streets and neighborhoods look like this in the days to come. Victoria, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, a very flood-prone area. We've seen that many, many times before. So the whole hotel is surrounded by water. We're upstairs. Those floors are well above the zone. The power is still on, which is something we've noticed that is good. And we hope your power stays on, too. Then this is where we were earlier. We were down there getting whipped. You can see how the wind is whipping the water. You can hear the roar of the wind through the building. Very eerie sound, especially overnight when you're laying there and you try to go to sleep. But it just continues to roar through here. Now, the rainfall total here now is over 5 inches. We have been hit with 5 inches of rain, and we're not even to midnight Friday night here on the east coast of central Gulf Coast of Texas. It just gives you an idea of how prolific a rainfall producer it's been so far, moving at 8 to 10 miles an hour. And now it's going to slow down and meander potentially into the middle part of next week. Now, where is it headed next? Well, in the short term, the eye and the eye wall are heading northwest inland, and the next town up US 87 from here in Port Lavaca is Victoria. Now, there was a mandatory evacuation in Victoria County, but a lot of folks have stayed, including the media, and we've got Reynolds Wolf there all night long coming up. But first, let's check in with NBC's Jay Gray in Victoria. And Jay, checking the odds earlier, you'd already gusted upwards of 50 miles an hour. How's the weather there as far as wind and the rainfall?
Stand by.
Okay, we don't have Jay Gray yet. We'll try to get back to him certainly in the next few minutes as we head up to Victoria. As I mentioned, Reynolds Wolf will be there all night, and he'll have some stunning pictures for sure. We'll come back out here into the parking lot and get back into the real wind from Hurricane Harvey. Now we've got Jay Gray in Victoria. Jay, give us the latest on the wind and rain there so far, knowing that you've got a long night ahead, and those areas there, just like here, could be looking at 2 to 3 feet of rainfall between now and the middle of next week.
Yeah, isn't that amazing to
Okay, Jay, thanks for the update from Victoria. That's NBC's Jay Gray. He'll be there through the event, I'm sure, with the aftermath. It would be nice to use the word aftermath, because you can't have aftermath until the thing moves out, and this is going to be around for a long time. Reynolds Wolf will be on board from Victoria all night as the eye and the eye will approach that Texas town. It's about 55 miles, plus or minus a few, from the Gulf Coast. But again, this is forecast to be stay a hurricane right on through Saturday.
Yeah, Mike, Dr.
Sunday,
Knapp, can you hear me?
We still have tropical storm force winds. Yeah, Dr. Knapp is now back in the lab. And, Dr. Knapp, what can you tell me about our situation here? Because I'm using my phone to communicate, and I haven't had a chance to look at the radar closely. But just based on the pattern we're taking, some of these bands obviously associated with the outer eye wall on the east side of Hurricane Harvey.
Yes, one thing to keep in mind about...
Meanwhile, we've got coverage all weekend. We've got crews Houston, San Antonio, Austin. Reynolds Wolf will be up all night into tomorrow morning in Victoria, Texas. I'll be here for a little while longer. We've got Jim Cantori in Corpus Christi. Plus, we're going to have expert analysis all weekend. Dr. Rick Knapp here. Also, Brian Norcross and our other experts, Dr. Erica Navarro, in the lab through the weekend as we keep you updated, keep you safe. We're trying to keep everybody safe and save lives. Again, the bottom line, prolific rainfall totals, a catastrophe in the making, and the best bet is stay on higher ground, stay home, do not venture out. Remember, inland flooding from systems like this is the #1 killer. We'll come back, we'll take a break, and we'll return to our coverage from the Texas Gulf Coast. Dangerous Hurricane Harvey has just made landfall. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of dangerous Hurricane Harvey. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel in Port Lavaca, Texas. We are on the east side of the hurricane, which made landfall not long ago down in Aransas County. Now Rockport took the eye, and the winds went calm. And the next town in line will likely be, certainly the major town, would be Victoria. Reynolds Wolf will be live there starting up at 1 a.m. Eastern, so that's about an hour away from now. Here in Port Lavaca, you can see the wind and the rain. It is just howling through here, and the water rise has come up here around the hotel. We've got about 2 feet of water. The hotel is very safe. It's well constructed. Nothing on the first floor, just basically open space. All the rooms are on the upper floors. 1, 2, 3, 4 floors up above the first floor. I'm going to try to venture out here a little bit, give you an idea of the wind from this hurricane. I tell you what, you really have to hang on. It is howling through here. Wow. I don't know if I can, let's see if I can get out here. There you go. This is what it's like. This is how wind comes around the corner. I cannot turn my face to look at the water's come up even more. We were over here up until about a half an hour ago, and the water has come up even more now. Let me walk back down here. This is just the beginning of a long night and weekend here in Calhoun County and in the other counties, including the areas just north of Corpus Christi. The good thing about Corpus Christi is the wind is blowing offshore because the center of Harvey went off to the right. There goes the power at the hotel. That's the third time it's gone off. Now it's back on. It's flickered now 3 times, but it keeps coming back on. What you taste out here is salty water along with all the refineries in the area. It has kind of a oily, gassy smell and taste to it. Hard to get around it because it's blowing in all directions, 360 degrees. We can't overemphasize the fact that this storm is not moving anywhere as it go into the weekend, and the rainfall totals are going to be prolific. Let's go up the coast, where it's not quite as stormy. Meteorologist Mike Bettis in Galveston, but you have had some of those far outer bands and earlier some tornado warnings. Mike?
Yeah, Gorda Bay area. Port Lavaca is where our Mike Seidel is located. He has been taking a close look at the water levels as the salt water rises gradually. The water will keep coming up. Mike, how high is it now?
Officially now we're up about 5.5 feet. Just got that word from our meteorologist, Catherine Prosiv. 5.5 feet so far. We've moved upstairs because we've lost power and we need light just to be on the safe side. We can't see what's floating in the water. There's a lot of debris that has blown in from the bay. Lavaca Bay could have come in from Matagorda Bay. So we've come up to the balcony. We're about, I don't know, 16 feet or so above the water on the officially the first floor of the hotel. So we're in good shape as far as that goes. But boy, the wind up here is still howling. And not only the moniker of the hurricane being the rain, but this wind, it just goes and goes. And unlike most hurricanes, it's going to continue blowing all night into tomorrow, into Sunday, because Harvey is slowing down, and some of the circulation may actually stay over the water or come back over the water completely by the early part of next week. Something we've never seen before if it comes back in as a second landfall. That's never happened in Texas. Now, we've seen that in Florida, but not in Texas. And that would be the ultimate worst case scenario. Not that this isn't bad enough, because the rain is going to be prolific. We're talking about life-threatening. Remember the old saying, turn around, don't drown. We're not talking about necessarily, well, you know, there'll be flash flooding, but we're talking about just flooding overall. And then all that water, whoa, hanging on. All that water has to go down the rivers, like the Nueces River, and back into the Gulf of Mexico later next week. Then we're into Labor Day weekend. It just boggles the mind that we could be still a week from now talking about Harvey and a circulation. That's not out of the question, although both models pretty much, after you get by next Thursday and Friday, start to really spin it down and get it out of Texas. But that's a week. That is a week from now. Short-term issues. Again, the power out here. I'm hoping that you, if you're watching, you probably have power, obviously, or you've got a generator, that your power doesn't go off if you're in the storm zone. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Still the risk of an occasional tornado or two. We've had about a half a dozen short fuse warnings, several in Matagorda County, north of here, up in Brazoria County. Galveston County, I believe, had one warning. I don't think there's any reports of any touchdowns. The damage, though, has been where this massive hurricane came on shore, Aransas County and those areas. Rockport reporting significant damage at the high school, and I can tell you, based on spending a weekend in Aransas Pass back in mid-June, that those condos and all those apartments and a lot of new construction there. In fact, they were still widening the road between Corpus and Port Aransas, just over the dunes from the Gulf. I'm almost certain, unfortunately, there's just been a lot of damage to those buildings. Man, this is what you call the outer eye wall of a hurricane. We'll throw it back to the Weather Channel, Dr. Rick Knabb. Maybe it's Mike Bettis, I'm not sure at this point. Just hard to hear anything out here.
Okay, Mike Seidel, we understand. This is Dr. Knapp. I'll take it from here.